Hello, welcome back to Riftforge Studio. Today we are going to have a little discussion which was born out of, I think, a chat that I had with the two people on the stream with me at an event recently about the good points and bad points of Heresy and some hangover from the FAQ and that sort of thing. We thought, let's do a State of Heresy video and just ramble at the internet for a bit about it. So that's what we're going to do. Joining me on the stream is Reese, newly joined the channel, although he's still trying to claw his way back out, I think, but he's here to stay. And Will Henry of the Merchant Princelings podcast. Awesome Heresy player, will batter you and you'll love it. Say hello, gents.
Hello, that's very kind, thank you.
Hi all.
Cool. Okay, so before we get started into the meat of what we're going to have a chat about, Will, do you just want to tell everyone who may not know, those 6 people on the kind of Southern Hemisphere who don't know who the Merchant Princelings are, where they can find you, all that sort of jazz, and then we'll crack on.
Yeah, so my name's Will. I'm 1/3 of the Merchant Princelings, which is a UK-based heresy podcast, mainly originally focused around running, going to events, and feedback on said events. Just trying to hype up for everybody, make everyone aware, because I think, along with probably many other people as well, we had a lot of events did quite a lot for us, like breaking out the initial bubble of just playing at like your local club or in your shed or whatever, going to events and meeting new people and expanding your vocabulary of heresy was one of the greatest things that we ever did. So we wanted to do something to give back to everybody else. So yeah, as myself, Tom and Giles, we attempt to do podcasts, but that's just tricky with life, as I think everyone can understand. Everyone can attest to. So if you want to go over to, I think we're on Spotify.
You are on Spotify,
iTunes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So head over to the Merchant Princelings. I'm sure Neil or Reese could tag them in it as well, and give it a check, give it a listen. Yeah, chat over spiel, and people seem to quite like it. I quite like it. It's good. Just get stuff off my chest.
We listen. Yeah. So yeah,
there you go.
I enjoy it.
At least we got 2 listeners, which is good.
100%. I'll also put a link to the pod in the description when this video goes out as well, so people can go and find it. Cool. Okay, so shall we have a chat about the state of the Horus Heresy game?
Please.
So, I've got some rough discussion points, which I gave to you guys earlier on. So if we start with the first one on my list was, what do we like in Heresy? It doesn't have to be a whole load of stuff or one particular thing. Just, give me a couple of things that you like and you think work well and you're happy with and you don't want FAQ'd or changed or anything like that.
Can I be controversial?
Oh, Reese doesn't like anything.
I like the reactions.
I was going to say the reactions as well.
As they are.
Why is that controversial?
All of them as they are, because everyone hates at least one reaction.
I think some of them need rewording a little bit because they're confusing. I mean, I know they fixed the Sons of Horus one in the FAQ, didn't they? But
yeah,
some of them need just a little tweak of the wording because some of the stuff in this entire game system is worded appallingly. But I'm sure we'll come on to that.
I think that's been a problem from the outset. Introducing such a different way to play has been a huge change for a lot of people, especially coming from 1st edition going into 2nd edition. If you played other Games Workshop based games, Necromunda, AT, having the you go I go system does work quite well. But for Heresy to keep the turn system, but then implement a you go I go kind of aspect into it is very unheard of. And originally, I think it had a lot of stumbling blocks, and still to this day, I think it does as well. But generally speaking, I think they're absolutely brilliant. I really, really enjoy them. Now, when I first played them, I thought, these are trash. I'll go back to 1st edition.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I was very skeptical at the start.
Yeah.
Very skeptical. Yeah, I think they are good. I think my biggest gripe about the reactions really is that I now lose the ability to just nip off for a P when my opponent's doing this movement phase.
Yeah. Go for a cheeky rolling.
Can't stay there.
Can't do that anymore. Yeah.
So that's the only downside there. I think they're good. They are. And I was very much, Reese will probably tell you in our kind of hobby chat group, I was scathing of them at the start. This is a terrible idea. These are absolutely dreadful. This is never going to work. And I'm quite prepared to eat my YouTube humble pie because I think they're good. I agree.
Ooh. big old slice of it.
Yeah.
I think one of the big problems is they've changed so many times from the original iteration, and as you said about the wording as well, the wording is quite tricky in some instances. So you guys probably see it quite a lot running events.
Yeah.
You meet quite a lot of people that play it different to how you and your group play it.
Yeah.
So trying to find that medium along the line of it can be quite tricky. But generally speaking, I think they're marvelous. I really, really enjoy them.
And the good thing about it being the EO is that Reese or I can just walk over and say, "No, we're playing it this way. That's it. That's the ruling for the event." So,
Exactly. Yeah. It is your barbecue. You're eating your own
carry on.
cooking.
Exactly.
Yeah. You not like beef brisket? Well, tough luck.
Yeah, I'll eat it for you. That's fine. What about you? Anything else, Reese? You said you like reactions. Controversial.
Yeah, I like reactions. Are we talking about it just as a game system or like as a hobby, a community?
Just anything. Do you like? Is there a new model you like? Are there rules that you particularly like? Just anything. And is there missions that you particularly
Huskulls
like?
are the best. I really like the Huskull rules.
Yeah, big shock. The Imperial Fist player likes Huskulls.
Shock, horror. Yeah.
All jokes aside.
I also, one of the things I like the most about Heresy Second Edition is I love the prominence of the legions at events, and I love how they have so much variety, even though they're like the same army. Chat to people about this in the past, and I've had it from like other game systems and from 40k, and it's like, but it's just all the same. It's just Marine on Marine, and it is.
So tired of hearing that. It's just Marines versus Marines. It's not though, is it?
It is. Like 80% of the game is like the same units, like tacticals, and you know what I mean. But that 20% of Legion specific stuff adds such an amount of variety that it adds a lot of flavour. But then it also means if you and I are playing and we come up against each other, I don't have to learn an entire army book to understand what your army does. I know what 80% of the army does.
Yep.
So then it's just learning about those like little nuance things that changes in between every legion. And I think we can all attest to the first time you play Mechanicum or Solar or Demons as well, your opponent can be very much like, I have no idea what this does. And it can be a quite strange way to play. But with the legions, it's specifically having that like level of accessibility across the whole army. I think it's brilliant, and I love the variety amongst it as well. I think it's great.
There's also you increase those changes further, don't you, by introducing rights of war and stuff, especially Legion specific ones that allow you to build lists in different ways. And it's not always tacticals versus tacticals, because sometimes you run a right of war that gives you jet bikes or whatever is your troops choices stuff. So I agree. The flavour's definitely there.
Just touching on that, like you say about tacticals, but even within the legions, like you say, it's not just the legion specific sort of units, is it? It's the rules. Like World Eaters tacticals don't play like normal tacticals and stuff like that.
For example,
and to say like what Will says, like you know what it does baseline, and then you've only got the one or two changes to remember. You know the stat line's still going to be the stat line.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's variety within the simplicity of it, I think.
Yeah, because the game can get very complicated as it is, especially second edition now with all the FAQ changes and the errata changes. It sometimes can get quite daunting, especially because 40k now it's almost simplified itself, having the whole like cards that you kind of play off, and all your rules are pretty much there. It can be quite tricky when you have to go into the rule book to find one rule, but it's not in there, so you've got to go into your Legion book to find that. But it's not in there because you're playing traitors, so you've got to go into that. But it can be quite tricky. But having everything as like a normal kind of like baseline to work off, I think it's brilliant. I think it's a really, really enjoyable system.
It's interesting what you said about the other like Solar Auxilia and Mechanicum and that sort of thing, because I don't know if you feel this, Reese, from the events and stuff we've run, but I don't see anything like as many Mechanicum lists now as I saw in first edition.
No,
nowhere near as many.
I would argue this because they're a bit more balanced now, but that's my
maybe. But they have changed the way a lot of it works now as well.
Yeah,
and I think was actually listening to so shout out to Ed of November Echo Wargaming, who I think did you play Ed last week? Maybe not. You have played him before, though, I think, haven't you?
To Will or me?
Yeah, to Will, Ed Anderson. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he did a review of the event that we ran down in Bournemouth, and he was saying about explaining when you opposite a Legion player, it's a smooth game because you instantly know what everything does, and when you've got a new player who's turning up with their Mechanicum army, doesn't really know what it does. You don't really know what it does. It's a bit of a chore of an experience sometimes to play it because it's so different.
It can be hugely exasperating. Yeah.
So on the whole, I think it's categorizing it as just Marines versus Marines is lazy and probably from players that haven't played it.
Completely agree, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so we all agree that we like reactions. Do we like?
Just a thought.
Go on.
Do you think that the unique reactions within the legions, as well as the units, adds a whole nother level of complexity to it, but it also keeps it fairly simple because it's still like, you know what I mean? Because you know what the majority of things do. But then having the advanced reactions, the specific legion ones, I think makes it very interesting. Yeah,
I really like them. I was a bit concerned when I first started reading it, when all the leaks and stuff came out before we actually got a proper rulebook, that we were going to end up having, an advanced movement reaction for each legion, an advanced shooting reaction, and I thought this is going to be chaos. It's going to be completely chaotic. That's not the case, obviously, as we know. You just get one. And I think they're great. I think they had a bit of flavour. I heard from Ed's review that when he played Reese at the weekend, that even though he knew what the Imperial Fist advanced reaction was, he still fell foul of it. He tried to slip down the side, and Reese is like, "Great, I'll just charge them with my dread." Bang.
Yeah.
So I think they're great.
Whammy.
They're great. Some of them.
There's definitely a couple of legions that are probably within their right to have a little moan.
The Alpha Legion one drives me mad.
That's the one where I just want my opponent to use it. I'm just like, just use it now, and then I haven't got to worry about it again. It is the worst one to play against.
I wouldn't mind if it was the Raven Guard one's just infantry, isn't it? I think you have to have a because the Alpha Legion one
might be cavalry as well.
It's cavalry as well. Yeah. But I know the Alpha Legion one because I played good old Dan White. And he used that advanced reaction on a squadron of Vindicators. just moved them. Yeah, moved them
That's
out.
Amazing.
Oh, no, he moved them out of range of my multimotors and then proceeded to shoot the crap out of me with them. So, because you lose your shot, don't you? So I didn't destroy them, and they murdered me.
You did what? You're going to do what?
Exactly. I literally had a full. Sorry to throw you under the bus here, mate, if you're watching, but I had a full Matt Woodley moment. The book came straight out. I was like, surely they can't do that to tanks. But no, you can.
Turns out you can.
Absolutely can. Yeah, I completely took it that day. It was good. It's a nice guy to play, Dan, so I didn't mind too much.
Yeah, that's good lad.
Okay, so look, we like reactions then. Does anyone have a favourite reaction since we all agree that we like them? Mine is not the Alpha Legion one.
Intercept.
Interesting. A basic reaction. It's good.
I think Intercept is a. So this is another interesting topic as well that I think we might be split over. I think it is a necessary evil in the world where Deep Strike can be the most crippling thing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how I feel. My sole opinion on it is Deep Strike. Intercept is only an issue if you're deep striking one or two units.
Yep.
So if you are only going to deep strike one unit, then they either need to be a tough unit, or you need to have some understanding that it's a distraction and they're going to die.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's my opinion. Like everyone knows what the rules are now. Everyone knows that most people have at least one heavy support squad or something that can intercept, whether it's a Deredeo or a double gun contemptor. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got something.
Yeah.
And as someone that point blank played no assault-based legions during the entirety of 1.0, I was very happy to see it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here on the risk of upsetting people. Shock. I think I've probably said this before, actually. I honestly feel that the people that really detest it are people that are too used to getting their own way in 1.0.
I was just about to say a variation of that. I haven't heard anyone complain about it who's not a player with a deep strike army.
Yeah,
there you
and
go.
and you can take. I mean, I've dealt. I mean, I run fists with multiple heavy squads and stuff. I've had plenty of deep strike armies that I can't deal with. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to deep strike, just commit to the deep. Even if it's just like 2 or 3 solid blobs, at least then you're in their lines, and then everything's a mess. Then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting because I think for me the problem with deep strike is it can be the most game-ending maneuver in the game. Yeah. Like if you come down well and you pin everything, then the game is and then you kill everything in the subsequent assault phase.
Assault phase, yeah.
The game's kind of over to a degree, and it isn't a game where it's back and forth. It's just I come down, I pin everything. Nothing in your army can. Well, half of your army can't even interact with it. Yeah. And then I charge and I murder everything. And having played both sides of the fence now, so playing when I play the Iron Hands, I build my list so that I don't get deep striked on because pardon my French, I really dislike it. But now that I've played it with the Raven Guard and pinned vast amounts of people's army to the point where the game isn't even a game anymore.
Yeah.
I'm very much more aware of that. I don't like that mechanic, even though it's advantageous to me. I don't like it. So now I'm consciously thinking about ways that I can change it up, not be so heavy either way. Do you know what I mean?
Go on, Reece.
Well, I was just going to say that's what I've always sort of said, that drop pod lists are slightly different because that is technically a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Because someone is deploying their entire army in front of you. But if someone's deploying 2,000 points, say, or 1,500 points of combat hardened units that are designed to come in and charge you and kill whatever they charge, I personally feel that to make the game a game, you have a right to try and half the size of all those units before they get into combat to give yourself a fight. Because if you've got lots of stuff to intercept, you've probably got not a lot of stuff to do combat.
It's one way, isn't it?
Yeah. So you've got to have I think it's a very balanced rule. That will really upset some people saying that word, but I do. Yeah. I think that if you're someone that's I hate intercept because my Dawnbreakers always die, well then try deep striking a bit more than Dawnbreakers. Do you know what I mean? Or
or killing the intercepting unit first.
Even just I don't know. Yeah, you just got to give people options to think about as well. You drop 2 good units in, and then now they've got to think. It's not just a case of I'll shoot the good unit and not worry about the horrible, the lousy unit over there. Do you know what I mean? Now they've got to think. It's just having a bit of tax in the build, isn't it? I guess.
You're right about the drop pods too, because you can't assault at them, can you? Unless I've missed something. So it's not quite. They come down and just
only the Charybdis
wipe away your army. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How often do you see those? Not very much.
Yeah.
So,
which is only one unit as well.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
It is quite nuanced now. I think. I think a lot more so than it was in first edition, and I think it's great. Yeah. I really like Interceptor and I really like Deep Strike, and finding the balance of how you want to play across both aspects. I think it's quite nuanced. I think it's quite interesting.
So is Intercept your favourite reaction as well, same as Reece?
My favourite reaction is probably the Space Wolf reaction. Because I have played against it and I've hated it. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I'm in trouble now. Now that I've had an opportunity to use it, it's delicious. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, I played Sean on the channel with that, and I was terrified of that reaction. I was just deliberately keeping away from his units. I thought, I'm just going to get stomped here if I get too close to him. So I've got to be really careful.
It completely changes how your opponent plays as well, and how you play. I think it's great. But in saying that, I think my absolute favourite one is probably the Alpha Legion one. Mainly because I absolutely detest
it is horrible, but there's also, because they got to scatter, there's that slight bit of randomness that if they get unlucky, can make the game absolutely hilarious.
I will say,
Yeah.
when I played Chris Gibson's Alpha Legion, way back, the first event we ran for 2.0, again, Bournemouth, he used that reaction and he scattered his squad in front of my Volkite squad.
Yeah.
So they saved their lives from one side and then got disintegrated on the other side.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. The randomness does
crazy.
cause an issue sometimes, but yeah, Dan's Vindicated was the best use I've seen of them so far.
Yeah.
Really good.
It's
Annoyingly.
probably cool, yeah.
I actually really like the Emperor's Children advanced reaction. That was a perfect counter, is it?
Yeah.
The counter, yeah.
That's very well balanced as well, because that's literally just a dice roll. You both roll charge,
I like it. It's fun,
and the biggest charge move wins.
Yeah, and you did that.
I think
you
that's...
did it with Eidolon, didn't you? Then came in with your initiative 2 Thunderhammer or whatever, and just blatted everything before it hit you back.
Oof.
Savage.
Initiative 6 or 7 Thunderhammer, I think, isn't it?
Or was it even 6? Did you go initiative?
You go on the charge, it goes initiative.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah. I remember him charging in and just murdering everything, basically. I was like, okay, great. That was wicked. But yeah, it's good fun.
But that's a really interesting reaction, because actually you declare it and then you've just got a random roll to see if it works. Yeah. Whereas some of the other ones just automatically happen, just like passively always happen. And I think that one is... I'd like to see more reactions based on
a bit of
rolls like that.
Yeah,
because I think it has quite a lot of fun and flavour. So yeah, it is, I suppose, isn't it? Unlike the Space Wolves one where you move and then charge, it's like, oh look, I almost can't fail this. So this one, you have to actually think about it, and
it's
cool.
I think it's a 10-inch range, and I think most of them are 12, aren't they? It's a 10-inch range based on the fact that it's your initiative plus D6. Yeah. That's your charge distance.
Yeah. I also really like the White Scots.
Could be really good.
I've had it fair
the White Scots
times, actually. Yeah, the White Scots one is good.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, right. So the only thing we like, the thing we like the most is reactions. Is that what we're saying?
That's the only thing.
Yes. That's the only thing in the game that's worth.
Okay, so that's the main thing we like. Okay, so let's flip it then. What is the main thing we don't like?
Oh, okay. Who wants to start here?
Well, you start, Will. You spoke first. What's the main thing you don't
like? I really dislike Rights of War and Legion rules that negate the missions that are being played.
Saga Mazan, anyone?
Saga Mazan, Headhunter Leviathan, Decapitation Strike. Yeah.
Yeah, because that game we played,
Rights of War,
Strike, didn't you? And it was just like
and
turn 1, 4.
The game was it was so stacked one-sided from early on. It kind of defeats the object of playing the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with Headhunter Leviathan. No, we'd love time. Went and got a drink, roll some dice. Lovely time. But the more I've played that Rite of War, the more I've come to realise that I just don't like how it plays, because it's super thematic, and it's the same as the Alpha Legion one. It's super thematic. It is playing to the lore of the Legion. It's awesome, but I feel like
doesn't always make for a good game, though, does it?
Yeah. And in comparison to how I play the Iron Hands, how I've been playing the Raven Guard is my first objective is to kill the enemy warlord, and then I'll think about playing the mission and scoring the objectives and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And it just and it's 2 points you can never get back. It's very strange. I think I played 10 games of it now or so. I just don't think it's a very fun way to play. Personally.
And you stack it with the Chthonian secondary as well, didn't you?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, so you can get like 4 points in turn 1.
Which is what you did. So you took out my warlord in turn 1.
Yeah.
And that's instant 4 points. So you're 4-0 down.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And you're playing against a combat army which will struggle to get, unless they go second, will struggle to get points in turn 1 in the Chthonian missions. It just seems a bit strange. And then Saga Mazan, we saw it last weekend.
We did
2 weekends ago.
That was
all three of us did.
I think
it's a bit like what? Like,
Reese and I had a chat about that after the event. Actually, we might have to house rule that combination of Saga Mazan and it was levies, wasn't it? Militia levies who don't give up points either. So the entire army gives up no victory points for kills. And if you're in a kill point game, I mean, fair play to Mark, who took out the Warlord to get his 1 point, regardless.
Yeah,
and win 1-0.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a kind of a fun sponge of a list for me. As nice as Richard is, who ran the list, I quite like him, but yeah, that wasn't much fun. Richard, That's I think we might have to house rule that as maybe a killer unit, roll a dice, and a 4+, you get the point for it, something like that.
Yeah, because that's what it was in first edition, and it's changed now to just you cannot score kill points in any form. So if I've got Alpha Legion and I come up against Saga and Mazan and it's Siege of Cathonia, I can't even get those 4 points for like killing an independent character.
It's not right, is it?
Which is just so it's yeah.
And most events have at least one mission that's based around kill points. We do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's good. Reese?
There's a few. Yeah, I was going to say there's a few Rite of Wars touching on what Will said that also I think are just like Will's point there being that they negate the actual purpose of the game. I would also say there's a few Rite of Wars that make certain things just unnecessary. Like, I mean, obviously being a fist player, I can say Stone Gauntlet till the cows come home. But
yeah.
There's a couple out there that do similar things and make like they also, I don't know, like I feel that like unless you are tailored to that Rite of War, it's a very difficult thing to come out triumphant upon. I mean, I'm not the best player in the world. I'm not, so I would expect to lose those games anyway. But
that's not what Ed says.
I think 10 House Skulls are like an auto win anyway, aren't they? So.
Yeah, he's cut through his Galvor back just like butter. They were just gone. Or whatever year there was they hit. So,
that's what I mean though. Silly things like that. Like he was like, "How many attacks do you get?" And I told him, "He's like, how did you get that many attacks?" And I was like, "Right, do you want to hear something stupid? Solar Right Gauntlets aren't a specialist weapon.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't they? A Power Fist is.
And they're strength 10.
If anything, you could argue it's going to be a heavier Power Fist because it's more powerful. Why? Just silly rules writing about certain little niche bits that just like. I don't know. I think certain things shouldn't stack as well, like with the Alpha Legion. Once you start getting the stuff counts as like 12 inches away.
Sharp bombs and stuff. And
when they I don't think it's quite 12, is it? I think is it like 8 the maximum they can get, but it's just like
it's -2 bases now, and then the shroud bombs are another 6 on there. I think that's right.
Yeah. It's just like Jesus Christ. And even on the subject of playing Ed, like obviously without being arrogant, it didn't affect a couple of the units that had to deal with it in my personal game with Ed. But I was thinking on the masses of like how the whole night fight thing that they do affects units. Like when you're at like -3 before you've lost any casualties and your leadership 7, that is so massive.
Yeah, you're on about the outnumbering you
and all that stuff, and because you're -1 for night fighting, aren't you? Because they force it, and they're not subject to it. I don't think, are they? And then
and most of the stuff has night vision. If they pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about like combat res, just small little niches within the game where certain things stack up a bit crazy. Like,
yeah.
I was actually speaking to Ed about it, actually. Go on, Will. Sorry.
I was just going to say, night fighting is another one of them things that I just don't think I like it. I don't like how it is in the game now. I think it's I think if you lean into it and you leverage it to your advantage, it's too like powerful in that sense. And it can just completely, if your opponent hasn't thought about it and planned a list around it, it can just be it can almost just it's kind of like it kind of almost negates the game to a degree, because you can have such powerful turns and a half. That just makes it to me, it feels like it doesn't make it that 2-player game. It makes it like a player and a half game almost.
Yeah, those are the sort of things that I was sort of getting at. Like, you get certain things, and like I don't run it. I haven't run a single Rite of War with my fists. I don't think. The whole of 2.0, because R1s I won't touch. I think I might have ran. I'd tell a lie. I think I may have possibly ran the Deep Strike one. What's it called?
Hammerfall.
Hammerfall, yeah.
You ran Stone Gauntlet once.
Yeah, have I? I haven't got any. No, I can't
hang on. You did. You played it when. Shout out to Sean and Tom, who were busy being at work. We played them for a doubles test game before they went to Warhammer World, and they said, "Bring the filthiest stuff you can." So you took Stone Gauntlet, and I took Fury of the Ancients, and they beat us.
Did I?
Which is amazing.
I don't think I did, mate, because I haven't got any Phalanx Warders.
Don't know. I'm pretty sure you did.
Maybe are required.
Oh, well, if you didn't, I'll take it back. But I thought you did because they asked us to bring the filthy stuff, and we did.
Yeah, I think I did take. I took all skill and heavy squads and stuff.
Well, do you want to hear the things I don't like?
Yeah, come on.
Please tell us.
It's two, and they're minor ones, right? The first one is Artificer armor.
Oh,
okay, yeah, that needs to go. Yeah.
I think it should. If it's a unique character comes with it, or a unit with the Master Legion has it, great. Nobody else should have access to it.
Wow. What about the Salamanders?
No.
The Legion that pride themselves in the most bespoke and
maybe that increases the flavour then for Salamanders. You know, certain Salamanders characters can take it for points or whatever, right? But just having it on squad size and just tanking stuff really bothers me. In 1.0, the Lookout servers of all, I hate him more than anything else, and thank God it's gone.
Lookout servers.
Yeah, it's just trash, isn't it? But you just get everyone tanking things on the sergeant front line. Just narratively makes no sense. Once you just stood at the front walking through the hail of assault cannon fire, is he just by himself? It's just ridiculous. It's like, it needs to go.
It's an interesting one.
My other issue is I don't like, and the obvious example is 1,000 Suns, right? I don't like Legion rules that can be turned off. It should be it should be always on, and that's it. That's their special rule. There shouldn't be a trigger or a way to switch it off. Being able to take out or snipe out someone's sergeant and then that unit loses their Legion rule was crazy.
Yeah.
So those are my two main issues, if you like. Not quite as wide ranging, I guess, as yours, but there's two things I've noticed that are bugbears of mine. And I would like to see.
Interesting, though. Very interesting, yeah.
And that brings me on to the next point, which was what one rule change would you make?
Oh, okay.
No single dice rolls.
No single dice roll.
Unless you've only got one model to roll for.
You mean when you make 20 saves, people doing one at a time? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Good. I understand why it has to be done. Like, it has to be done because of the way the game is.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I don't care what anyone says about numbers or maths. We all know that 9 times out of 10, if you roll 20 saves one at a time and 20 saves in a handful, you pass the 20 you roll one at a time.
Now, spoiler alert here. Right, I'm not going to tell you what happened exactly, but Reese played a game with Sean, which you're going to see on the channel soon. And Sean made a not insignificant amount of saves in one go, didn't he, Reese?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was in one bundle as well. That wasn't even rolling separately.
That's what I mean. So he just did it all
at once. That was disgusting. Yeah.
I think that bat rep might be going up on Saturday, so whoever's watching this, you won't have long to wait. But it was I heard all about that in the Riftforge chat. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it was funny, to be honest.
It was funny. Yeah.
It was one of those, when you sort of take a step back from the table and you think to yourself, like,
I can't do anymore.
The dice gods hate me. Yeah, like what more am I supposed to do?
Oh, dear. Okay, so rule change. That's not an actual rule. Though,
right? No. That was just a joke. I don't know. Actual rules changes.
I'm not talking necessarily about rewording here, because we know loads of stuff needs to be reworded because some of it's just written really bad.
Yeah, just if you could just
a rule interaction or something that you don't like. What about you? Recently?
Go on, Will.
I'd like to see re-rollable armor saves taken out of the game.
Ooh.
So this isn't a dig at Stone Gauntlet. This is a dig primarily at blasts and heavy.
Okay, yeah.
And I understand where they've come from in that blasts in first edition were hugely powerful. The abundance of AP 2 and 1 on large
pie plates. Yeah.
What do the kids call them? Pie plates. That's it. Yeah.
But they've taken most of those horrible templates out now, right? So
correct.
So what's the point? This is where it's going, isn't it? This is where it's going.
So now what's left is almost comical, I believe, because playing Iron Hands a heavy legion, where all your legion specific stuff is heavy, and I don't know about generally, but I lean into heavy when I play them. I can come up against blast weapons, and it's like there's no point you shooting those blast weapons because I get a 3-up re-rollable armor save with a feel no pain on top.
Yeah.
Plus
you can tank it on your 2-up artificer sergeant, right? So.
Plus tank it on your 2-up re-rollable armor save with a 3-up feel no pain. Yeah. Who isn't killed by Strength 8 because he's an Iron Father? Bash.
Perfect.
I just think it's a very strange thing to. I thought it was very evident in first edition that re-rollable saves was something that was bad for the game, and they had the 3-up re-rollable shield captains and all that stuff. So then bring it back, but it's now like army wide, and it's made. One of the things I really enjoy blast weapons because for me it's a good way of interacting with your opponent. So.
Yeah,
Neil, you say to me, put the template where it hits the most. And I'm like, you're going to get 7 on a hit there. Then you roll the dice and we like move it together. It's quite a nice way of playing.
Yeah, I agree.
For it then to just be like, oh, cool. Well, I mean, we spent 5 minutes resolving 50 wounds that I'm just going to go 3-up with a 3-up, with a 4-up or a 5-up, whatever it is. I think it's a really... To me, it feels like a lazy rule to put in. Like, you could come up with a better, more nuanced way to do it, but they just went, we'll just give them rerolls. That'll silence the crowd. And I just think it's, yeah.
Would you give heavy armor any other rule? I mean, they can't run, right? You can't run, so would you give them any?
So
I'd give plus.
I'd give heavy -1 AP to blast weapons.
Do you know what? I actually like that rule, yeah. That's very good. That's good. That would be a good way to do it, yeah.
Because then if you've got your Terminators and you're getting hit by a Medusa, I mean, not that they're AP2 anymore, but a large blast that's AP2, it would give you your 2-up save. And you'd still die from it if you failed a 2-up save, but it wouldn't just be like, oh, cool, I go from a 2-up to a 5-up or whatever your invul is. Like, you don't instantly like die from it. And
would you let rending bypass it?
I would probably keep rending, or I'd just make the rending bracket like -1. So if it was rending 4+, it would be rending 5+. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. But if they got a rending hit on you, you would let the AP2 go through you.
It would still be AP2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
To
I like that.
6-up being the worst, I suppose. Yeah. But I just think, like, having done it to like people and having had it done to me, it just feels to me. I'm just not a fan of it. And then you could always just go back to and say Stone Gauntlet as well, like the 4-up re-rollable armor save, re-rollable invulnerable save. Sorry, like it never needed to be there. I don't understand why it was put in. It's just a really lazy thing to put in my opinion.
Maybe they want to sell fists.
Yeah, like I understand that they're the poster boys, but that's just absolutely insane. It's crazy. But then at the same time, like, people say, how do you fix Stone Gauntlet? How do you not abuse Stone Gauntlet? Just don't take the re-rolls on normal shots. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Just be like, oh, you're shooting 50 Volkites at me. Cool, I'll just take 3-up saves rather than 4-up re-rollable armor saves. I don't know, just... Yeah, that's probably one of the things I dislike the most.
One of the easiest ways to sort of nerf, if you like, Stone Gauntlet is to not take apothecaries in the first place. Because that's what,
a good one. Yeah.
That's what gives you, on an objective, that's what gives you the triple 4-up reroll.
4-up. Yeah. Which is...
Or just take Phalanx Warder Squads, but just don't run Stone Gauntlet, because then it's just a 5-up.
Yeah, just need a one line, doesn't it? Phalanx Warder Squads and Stone Gauntlet.
I mean, it's still a reroll, but it's a normal breach. I think that's the right way around. I'm sure Stone Gauntlet gives them the +1 to their invuln.
Yeah.
Okay, so Will doesn't like or would change rerollable armor saves, beg your pardon. What about you, Reese?
What would I change? I don't really know.
It is quite a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean...
Mine is definitely the Legion rules being turned off. I don't like that. I think their rules should be on. So
yeah. I mean...
Agreed.
Yeah.
Go on, what's something that's really annoyed you?
I'll tell you what, yeah. I think we as we all know this one, though, some of the librarian abilities need looking at.
Oh, that was my second point. Telepathy was my second point. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're too. I don't like. I mean,
reactions are a part of the game.
Yeah, you can't stop them, and everyone knows that's the one reason everyone takes that librarian power, isn't it?
So turning off a reaction is pretty insane.
Removing part of the game,
yeah. But I could see that as like a psychic power. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what that cool psychic power does. Once a turn, you can turn off a reaction in one phase.
I just think...
have it that you can pin stuff that is stubborn. Other than the characteristic check is just completely. It's almost like it's an oversight that someone put in, and then when they said, "Oh, should we fix this?" They're like, "No, I've made my bed and it's very comfy." What are we going to say? Like, come on, get out of bed. No. I'm staying in bed. No. It's like your mum when you're like 11 during your summer holidays and you got chores. Come on, 7 o'clock, up you get. Like, no, I'm staying in bed. No. It's mental. Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
We have done event restrictions on them before, so 0 to 1 for telepathy librarians, but I think the kind of not secret, but it's out there now, and I think people know not to take more than one or don't take one at all.
Yeah.
So I haven't. I don't know. I might be wrong here, Reese. I don't think I've seen any of our events, certainly the last few events, where anyone's taken more than one.
Yeah.
If we haven't restricted it. Right.
I'm to be fair, as a blanket statement of the community that I have experienced, not as the community on whole, I don't think I've ever seen 2 librarians full stop.
Well, I remember listening to your podcast,
with the exception.
Yeah, talking about the what was it? It was the Greetings and the Warp doubles that we went to, Reese, and I think Tom was playing with Giles. And I'm sure, and you know, correct me here, Will, if I've got this wrong, but I'm sure there was a guy who figured out during game 1 how good his telepathy librarian was, so then just put 3 on the table for his next game or something like that.
Yes. So
but that's changing your list after a game as well. Like,
but even so, change it because they're so unbelievably powerful units to have on the board. He just ran 3, so he could just turn off everyone's reactions and pin everything.
But then then you're entering a slightly different realm, though, aren't you? Of the community.
Sure.
But I guess the game.
Yeah, my point was that I haven't seen anyone turn up to an event with 3 telepathy librarians because they know they would get, side-eye for the entire weekend and they're just gonna be shamed, right? So
I probably wouldn't even play it if I'm honest.
No. Yes.
It's a strange one.
So Reese doesn't like telepathy. So that's what you changed.
Fun it out.
Don't know exactly what we changed it to yet. You just changed the powers to work in a different way.
Well, even if it was just like, well, let's put it this way: I've very rarely seen a librarian fail a psychic check.
Oh, you didn't see my my demon sovereign then? Failed psychic checks all weekend. Ask Giles.
Oh, yeah, but that's demons though. That's slightly different.
What's your
leadership? Oh, sovereign though. It must be quite high.
Yeah, I'm sure she leadership 9 or 10 or something. It's pretty high. Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel that like, if it's too difficult to replace the rule, then certain definitely powers need to be looked at as to how easy it is to acquire them, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah, I think auto pinning unit that will just turn you off the reaction is maybe, or maybe they should change it so it only turns off certain reactions. Like you can't shroud this turn, but you can still return fire.
Well, except for Will, maybe, but 9 times out of 10,
I don't know. But yeah, I agree. It does. It's by far and away the most powerful psychic discipline. So
yeah,
and it's quite obvious.
And it's the worst one as well because it just negates your opponent being able to play their game.
Yeah. So you use that, and then you can go for your Wii, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you can't do anything. I'll just go for slam.
Perfect. Okay, all right. So, what about? I know you guys did an episode on the FAQ on the podcast, and we did one as well. Myself, Sean, and I think Reese. Is there any FAQ stuff that maybe you didn't talk about on the pod, or you've since digested that you're happy or unhappy about, or want to pick up?
Yeah, throw hate at everyone.
No, Reese.
Sorry, mate. I'm going to throw hate at everyone that says Formenteras are unplayable. if you have said those words, grow up.
It's Alpha Legion players have said that.
No, I'm just being horrible now. But like on a serious side note to that, though, I do feel that is a ridiculous statement. Like they are and have been, to my knowledge, a plasma missile for all of time. Yes. So why they were a plasma missile that did not have a plasma stat line before?
It had a Thunderhammer stat line.
Was ridiculous.
Insane.
Now, and like you still see people take plasma support squads. You still see people take plasma on. Will, don't you run a plasma heavy squad?
Yeah, I at one of your last events, I ran a 10-man.
And I've seen
great.
You see plasma on in various other places, and there's combi weapons and stuff. Like, it's still good. It's just, I like actually. If we could rewind it back to the very start, that's one of my favourite changes of 2.0. I think plasma is so balanced now, rather than pointing to the. I really
so swingy, isn't it? Yeah.
Fulminators are not unplayable; they were just broken as hell before.
Yeah, and now they're a bit more sensible.
Yeah.
And
it's quite funny seeing social media people with lots of followers. I'm gonna pick on someone like the guy from what's his name, Pare from SN, who was like, "That's it. These are going back in the cupboard. Never seen the light of day again." It's like, okay, well, why don't you just find a new way to run them? Just
grow up.
Yeah.
Instead of using them as your Alpha Strike unit, just use them as a fire support unit.
Yeah. Are they good value for points now? Probably not, but they were ridiculous before. So honestly, okay. So Fulminators FAQ. I think.
Go on, Will. You Will was.
Go on, Will. Go on. You had some.
Yeah, Will was going to say something. That's all.
Yeah, just quickly to touch on the Fulminators things. I think it's quite interesting that you said about that, because I was thinking about it the other day, and it's strange that if you want to look at what are the best units in the game, you look at the Alpha Legion players, not at the Legion, not the generic Legion players.
You're like, to treason.
Oh, they got Suzerain and they got Fulminators and they got Dark Furies. They're probably all very good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. But the one thing I'd change is I'd go back on the errata and I would put back in the use of return fire alternatives. And this is not because of my pyromancy.
We've had this conversation, Will,
This is not because I love pyromancy. But I think it's a really cool mechanic within the game, and I think it really helps balance out some of the aspects in the game that can be a bit one-sided. So,
give an example other than your templates, Will.
So, Battlesmith.
Okay.
And
some other psychic powers, I guess. Yeah, okay.
But Mechanicum, some of the other psychic powers as well. I think those are, especially within some legions, well, some forces for them, Mechanicum specifically, I think are a very good way of bringing them up to the Legion's standard. And then I think with the psychic powers as well specifically, I think my big gripe with it, which I think I talked about in the pod, is less about the pyromancy one that I was using, and more that it's made the two, in my opinion, not worse, the least enjoyable psychic disciplines to play against, the most viable ones to play with now, because the other ones aren't very useful going forward, in the form of telepathy and divination. And I think that changing the biomancy so that you can't be toughness, you can't cast it 3 times and be toughness 7. I think it could have been a very simple fix to just say it can only ever be +1, but you can do it on reactions. Because towards the end of the errata coming out, the main reason I saw people taking biomancy was so that your combat units could make it into combat.
Yeah.
And combat is still, and having now played like a proper combat unit, combat is the funnest way to play the game, in my opinion.
So what do you think they made that change then? I don't remember seeing loads of people go around like Bob the Builder and battlesmithing their tanks constantly from return fire reactions or anything. So I'm kind of at a loss as to why the change came in. And I don't think Will's biomancy templates has kind of made it around the globe as some sort of oppressive tactic. So I don't really.
Yeah, exactly. It's a strange one because, I think there were probably instances where people were casting Biomancy on an intercept, on a return fire, and on an Overwatch, and getting +3 strength and toughness on a unit, which is insane. That's absolutely stupid, especially if you had 2 librarians doing it. And that is a big problem, but that could have been fixed another way. And I think maybe some of the Mechanicum ways that you could use Lacrimata on a reaction to move units on a reaction, that's probably could have been an issue as well.
Yeah.
And Pyromancy, I don't think Pyromancy, the problem with Pyromancy is it's not that you can do it on a reaction, it's that the actual psychic power itself breaks all the mechanics of the game because it picks a point rather than a unit.
Yes, I remember you saying this, yeah.
It isn't that you can do it on a reaction and throw a fireball here and fire one there. It's the fact that it breaks all the core principles of the game, in that you can throw it into combat, you can throw it at units, and because you're not targeting a unit, they don't get they don't get their Legion Roar against it because it's not a shooting attack, but it is a shooting attack, but it's not because it's not a shooting attack within the parameters of how you perform a shooting attack. I think it was a very heavy-handed thing to just outlaw it from the outset, personally, and I think it's a more nuanced thing that I think should be addressed. But that's just me. Also, I want to throw fireballs again on return fire, so because I'm greedy.
Because you're greedy. Okay, so FAQ. I was glad they made the change they made to armigers. Okay.
Armigers is a good change, yeah.
Yeah. However, it's laced with a small gripe, and that is that those changes have been made, so they're now far more vulnerable, but at the same points, and they're nowhere as near what a Contemptor is stat line wise. Yes, they have a longer range gun and stuff for the most part, but they're stubborn and 7, right? So they can be pinned, they can be swept in combat, all these sort of things. And they're basically the same points as a Contemptor.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to have seen that come with a small, not a lot of points decrease, but like 10, 15 points off, maybe something like that, because I think they are overpriced now for that.
I think that Contemptor's current stat line and loadout potentials are undercosted is probably more the problem.
Perhaps.
Interesting, because shout out to Barney, who I played at Beachhead, who taught me about knights and taught me about armigers. They are, I think they're insanely good for what they do. I think they are absolutely brilliant. I think they are, even with the change to Grav and Melt and all that stuff working against them, I think they're a really solid unit. I really, really like them.
They're
really hard to play against. They're really hard to play against because they change the way that you would play. If you're just playing Legion, they completely change it all. But I think they're really, really good, and I really like that they've addressed the fact that it's a robot and it can be hurt by anti-robot weaponry.
It should be hurt by Haywire, and it should be hurt by Armor Bane or whatever else. I get all that.
Everyone's
that's the change I fully agree with. I just think that when they're a 3 up, and I know the Contemptor's not the yardstick we should be using, because you're right, they are very, very strong. But it's comparable, right, in terms of units on the board. They're both tough 7, I think. But the Armiger, as I say, it can be pinned and swept in combat. It is a 3 up save, not a 2 up. I think for the points, really, maybe you're right, Reese. Maybe the Contemptor just should have a raise or something like that. But my gripe was they made that change and didn't decrease the points or anything like that, and I think they should. But that might be my bias talking.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. So let's veer away from rules for a second then, and let's because I have got on the screen that I've had since the start a picture of a few of the models that have been teased and not out yet, which is the Legion Apothecaries, the Solar Sentinel, and Endred Har, who got shown off the other day. Do you think there's any models other than the ones that have been teased that we absolutely should have had by now and inexplicably don't? I'm going to start with Breaches.
Oh, I was going to say Breaches.
Yeah, we should have plastic Breaches by now, because the Breach put my Breaches against the Mark 6 and then they look tiny. That's annoying.
On a counter argument to that,
go on.
With the way 2.0 is developed, do you think there is a place for Breaches?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I fully believe Breaches are a good are a good and viable troops unit. Yeah,
that's cool.
I think they get quite a lot of hate.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that sounded really sarcastic. I didn't mean it to. I'm completely non-plus on that. I like breaches myself.
Sure.
I just wondered what you two thought on it. That's all.
No, yeah, I think they're something different as well. They're not an assault squad or a tactical squad. They're something different.
I know.
Fun to run. So.
You know what I would like them to see when they. I'll tell you what. Coming back to the rules quickly, breaches should be able to take combat weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's nothing stupid. Like I'm not saying they all need to be able to take thunder hammers. That's
maybe
just
like 1 in 5 should be able to take a power axe or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Or just the fact that like tactical squads and like everything else, they should be able to take chainsaws.
Yeah, I think if you could exchange your bolt gun for a chainsaw, that'd be very cool.
Yeah, like just
very
that.
Cool.
Yeah. And I think that would be a cool dynamic on the board as well. Just
definitely breaches as well. I think they're a really good hobby opportunity for people as well.
Yeah.
And until you've built and painted them, you kind of I feel like people miss how enjoyable they are, because like having that shield to do freehand or what's it called again, stencils or transfers, it's a really enjoyable thing to learn and to do, and it can really help like push people's kind of like hobby boundaries.
Yeah, it's a nice little canvas to work on, isn't it?
Yeah. Because generally with like Marines, if you're just doing all infantry, everything's a bit curved. It can be a bit tricky. That's the nice thing about doing dreads, I suppose, because you get some of them flat surfaces, and tanks you get larger ones. But learning to do it on like shields as well, I think it's great. Yeah,
it's a good opportunity for reverse schemes too. When I painted the Salamander's army, the breaches I had, I painted black with green shoulder inlays and then green shields.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And it works really, really well with the rest of the army, because they stuck out, but they also fit in, and it was it was nice. I like breaches. Plastic breaches, please, Games Workshop.
Please sign me up.
Yeah. Okay, so Will and I are all in on plastic breaches. What about you, Reese? Models? What's missing?
A model that I think is missing.
And by that I mean either not available in resin or plastic, or just something that should be in plastic by now.
There's lots of stuff that should be in plastic.
And ignore the solar, because we know that's coming.
Yeah. Solar's coming. I mean, there's an argument that, like, why isn't Mechanicum in plastic? I mean, I don't play Mechanicum, but, like, you've got the whole AdMech range for 40k. It's obviously not that difficult. Well, I say it's not that difficult. I know that there's a lot of work that goes into the changeover, but, like, it's doable is what I mean.
Well, I imagine plastic Thalax are in the works. I'd be amazed if they're not.
I don't know if there's a specific unit that I'd really like to see.
I would, in the meantime, I'd like to see a quicker turnaround of Legion-specific consoles, because there's so many.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'd like to see super heavies go plastic. Because I think currently they're in a pretty bad place rules-wise, but modelling-wise, everyone should have at least tried a super heavy. We certainly saw with the Typhon and the Cerberus, they went from being very rare in second edition to being like prominent at every event that you attend. You should see one or t'other.
Yeah,
I think that's primarily because they're plastic. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but the price point for buying like a Fellblade or a Glaive from Forge World or Games Workshop, to me it's completely unsustainable. Like I just can't afford to spend like £300 on a tank.
That you
if you make it plastic, yeah, exactly. But if you make it plastic, even if it's not like a great unit, I'm buying a Fellblade tomorrow.
Yeah, like, with £100 Beyblade price in plastic or whatever, isn't it?
I'm in.
Yeah,
and it would just be such a nice thing. Maybe they are working towards it, but we'll never know, I suppose, because they keep their cards.
We thought we were going to get it, didn't we? Then they brought out the. They said, "Oh no, it's just you have the resin tank skin, but we're going to give you the plastic sprues for the sides now." Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing. And with no plastic javelins either. Oh, it's like...
yeah, but you get the plastic sponsons on them. Oh,
yeah, woo, yeah, great. For all the javelins are already owned. Cheers for that. Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I'd like to see in plastic. A return of all the upgrade sprues.
Oh, that's a good one.
Interesting, yeah.
Not necessarily mixes, because I think those days have almost gone. But considering that so many, well, I'm going to say so many units, the majority of units across all legions have such a wide variety of weapon options, and there are so few weapon options you can actually get your hands on.
Yes.
Without having to do something stupid like go out and buy, I don't know, 4 packs of like a unit you don't want, just so that you've got enough power axes or enough something else, you know, enough swords or whatever to make the unit you're trying to make. Did you see what I mean? Like,
I think
power axes is a great example. Like, I know they've just done the obviously the spoiler upgrade sprue, but until that dropped, there couldn't really buy power axes.
Yeah, and they've done it with special weapons and heavy weapons.
Yeah, you get them. And
why not do a box that has 10 power axes, 10 power maws, 10 power swords, 5 power fists, 5 thunder hammers? Do you know what I mean? That would be a great.
I think that would be coming with the Soul Squad haven't been on.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just logical. I don't understand why you'd sell all these gun options separately and not have combat options separate. Like, what?
Yeah. I think that's a great point. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Now
you said it. Now I want it. I'm like, oh yeah.
At the risk of sounding like good old Macca on the Outer Circle or something, can we please have models for special characters or some special characters rules and like Raven Guard, Salamanders, all these guys that are missing stuff?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, you're all dead now, though, aren't you? In the story, so it doesn't matter.
All right, mate, calm down. We're not all on top of the wall.
The story's finished as well, so I mean,
yeah, and also, mate, do you know what I mean? The wall's been gone a long time.
Yeah, fair enough. God. Okay, all right. So
I agree with that, mate. Yeah, I think basically, if you're going to write, I know there's that whole hobbyists. It gives them a free canvas to blah blah blah. Yeah, nice PR, mate. Just release a model. Do you know what I mean? And if someone wants to convert one, they'll convert one.
Yeah, and I would be okay with that if they then weren't like litigating everyone who made a proxy for it.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, all right. So, we'll do one more then. Tell me your faction, any faction or sub-faction you'd like that you think was done dirty in the rules and really needs, if not a kind of a ground up rewrite, then certainly some big tweaks in FAQ to make them fun to play or fun for your opponent to play against or whatever. Who wants to go first on that one? I've got one if you want.
I've got 2. Yeah.
Okay.
I know what one on wheels is going to be, but yeah, go on.
My I think I might have 2 as well. My first one actually is going to be demons. I think, and as you know, I've got a demon army and I've played it a few times, and you're going to see it on the channel. People who are watching in the next few weeks probably. They are good when you run them in certain builds or certain ways, and they've got some very, very powerful units. But they've only got, I think, 15 or 16 sheets units. 4 of those are good, and the rest are largely awful. Some of them are really bad, to the point where you just won't see them on the tabletop. Okay, and the rules are stacked in such a way that Encroaching Ruin, which is what I use, is the one that most people are going to use, or the Nurgle one that gives you the Feel No Pain for kind of a walking forward tide and everything else. Having changed a lot of the flavour from the first edition, where you could upgrade this and you could make your flying less. I know they've got Harriers now, right? But you could have the Shrike, which is basically a flying brute, and you could do all these little flavourful things with it. A lot of that's gone now. As you'll know from our game world, they're not really active in the shooting phase. You can make them active, but by giving them the shooting weapon, it's completely detrimental to whatever unit you're putting on, because it's vastly inferior to their combat attacks on the whole.
Yeah.
So I think it feels to me like they kind of started down a path and then had a few test games, like, oh, that's too powerful, tweaked a lot of stuff, changed it, and then stuck it out on a PDF. And it's a shame because there's a lot of really, really good customization and stuff you can do with demons. I've seen some great demon armies out there, and I feel like, and this is not even a power thing, I don't want them to be the most powerful list ever or anything. I just think that they've lost a bit of flavour, and they kind of push you into building it a certain way to make a game of it. Otherwise, you're just going to get totaled in a couple of turns, even with the high toughness and stuff.
Yeah,
so
I think I agree, actually.
I would like to see them make some changes, being able to give certain. If you make it, you give you lesser demons. Also, lesser demons now having one wound and stuff makes them very easy to remove, and they are the only line unit where you have to take them. You have to, the only compulsory troop line unit in the whole list. So you've got to take at least 2 squads of lesser demons, and they're really bad.
Yeah.
And there's no option to put anything good on them in terms of a shooting thing or whatever. So yeah, I'd like to see some changes made just to make it more fun, just to be able to use some of the other dominions available and have some fun with those too. And don't get me wrong, I was sure someone's going to be in the comments now saying, "Oh, Neil, you idiot, just go and just run a different one then, stop being a knob." And there is some truth in that. I could run some different ones, but once you go to an event, you start playing games, or you go on the channel against Sean's Murder Sons of Horus or whatever he's got. We need a list that can compete, don't you, in that environment? Otherwise, you're just going to get smashed in a couple of turns, and who's that fun for? Neither player. So.
Yeah. So I think you made a great point, and I think the problem about it is if you build it with a bit of everything, it's just a bit trash. But if you lean into the stuff that's really good, Triple Sovereign, Archmong,
yeah,
it's almost like, what's the point? Like,
yeah. I've never run Triple Sovereign, but you're quite right. Alex, who came to our event, ran Triple Sovereigns and an Archdemon, and he was stomping everybody because they were so powerful.
Yeah. And unless you come up against a player that understands how to play them and has the units to fight them, it's a bit like... So it's the complete other side, where if you take a bit of everything, we'll take one Archdemon and we'll take a Hardbringer, and we'll take some
Sovereigns,
some beasts,
brutes.
And if you just take a bit of everything, it's a bit like, bleh, because then you've only got 1 or 2 like really good units in it, and the rest is under 3.6 Rogan or less.
Not great, not terrible.
It's like 2 sides of the coin. It just isn't that equal.
Yeah, I think the problem is the disparity between the good units and the bad units. That gulf is big.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, you've got sovereigns and what is he called? The big guy. What's your Lord of War guy?
Archdemon.
That's it. The Archdemon. They're 9 and 10s, and then you've got brutes that probably float around the 7 mark. They are pretty good.
I'd probably call them 8s. I think they're really powerful. On
mass,
for sure.
Oh yeah. I suppose in a demon list they're unbound. Yeah, 7 or 8, but then everything else is at like 1 or 2, and it forces you into taking more than you want to of those good units because you're trying to make, like you say, make a game of it.
Yeah.
But then if you get there's almost nothing you can do unless you're tailored for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I think they are. You talk about blank canvases and stuff. They're a great army to build and customize, and I'd just like them to just get a bit of that flavour back. I think so. That's the army that I think's been done dirty. What about you, Will?
So, to what you were saying about one-dimensional, I think salamanders, unfortunately, have been done
really?
dirty
Okay.
in this edition.
I'd have put my house on that.
Go on, explain them. Explain for people who maybe haven't played them or played against them.
I fully agree with Will on this, by the way.
Okay.
I just think if you want to play them well, then you're very locked into what to play with them. And then you go to an event and you see salamander lists, and they're all pretty much the same. They're all land raiders with fire drakes, pyroclasts, flaming teams, some dreadnoughts, and some support battle tanks. Because their Legion rule is such a specific, almost unique Legion rule that only works against certain types of weapons in one phase of the game, you have to lean into play them in such a way that the Legion rule doesn't even really come into play. You just have to use a certain rite of war and a certain type of unit as the only way to get like a game out of a game.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, their Legion rule in first edition, where they could re-roll a dice on the leadership checks, was brilliant because you used it in multiple phases and you used it quite a lot. I thought it was really good.
And they were immune to fear, weren't they? Are they still immune to fear?
Yeah, correct. They were immune to fear as well, and that was a really cool thing for them to have. And now I just feel like every time I see them, I'm like, oh, cool, salamanders. Let's see what they're doing. Unless you're Andy Kirk. Andy Kirk is the exception.
Or the guy, there was a guy, wasn't there, a couple of weeks ago, had a salamanders drop list at our event in Bournemouth.
Oh, he did, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Unless you like try something completely new, because
he did have Fire Drake's Vulcan and Pyroclast in those Dropbox.
Yeah, sort of reinforcing Will's point to a large degree. Then, but then that's their special units, isn't it? People are going to take Fire Drakes and Pyroclasts. It's just how many you take, I suppose.
Yeah. I just think they've been hit very hard with the. They're just they don't feel like they've had the love that all the other legions have had when they've had their rules around.
Like it, yeah. I feel that like it's like they sat down and did all the legions in one day, and then like the salamanders and maybe a couple of other legions were sort of they were getting towards 10 o'clock and just trying to get stuff done to go on.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they had their board out? They had 17 on the board.
Yeah,
like, something's missing here, lads. What have we got?
Whereas they did Imperial Fist first when they were
the first legion to be done. Yeah,
got their Costa, sat down with a pastry, and let's bang out the Imperial Fist, boys.
This is going to be the sickest thing ever. Let's go. Yeah. It's like, oh, we've got the salamanders still. Oh, the wife's going to kill me. All right, let's just rush it out. Yeah.
Okay, so you would agree with that, would you? Reece, you'd be saying salamanders as
well. Yes. I mean, I'm. Well, you'll know this, Neil, because I've been sat at home for many months now, debating whether to redo the Emperor's Children or start another traitor list. And if I'm just being honest, there is nothing in any of the traitor legions that interests me.
Yeah. And
that's not like I'm reading the rules going, oh, these are really pants. But I don't know. I just find them. And to be honest, a couple of like Ultramarines, I've always sort of liked the idea of maybe painting blue, but I would never do Ultramarines because I've got fists. They're two very similar legions. They sort of do everything pretty well. Yeah. So it'd be pointless me doing that for like a switch up, whereas I like the Emperor's Children because they're a very assault-based army. Mm-hmm. It gives me a chance to play in different ways. But yeah,
I think I'll give it also, just to cut across you, sorry, a special mention to Thousand Suns. I think they got a little bit done dirty as well. But I wanted to have my demon rant, so I didn't talk about them.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of people say that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's almost sort of. Go on.
No, for me as well, I think Militia and Blood Angels.
I was about to say none of us have mentioned Militia yet.
Yeah. Oh, the Militia! I can't even go into Militia.
Yeah.
They had
First edition were
I don't even know.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't even know what their logic was doing that. Force Org. I went over this Force Org so many times in my head when they dropped the PDF, and I was like, "You've given," and like I didn't even care about how pants they were. I was like, "You've given us so many cool units that allow for such unique army building, and they're all fast attack slots." I'm like, so you could never take more than 3 of all of these cool units. Like you had, and I was just like, why would they all be under the same slot? Because outside of that, all you've got is men and tanks again, and then it's just solar. So, like, why have a militia where you're going to bring in all these cool units because it's indigenous people to the planets, whatever, and their little ways of warfare, etc. Whatever the sort of inspiration behind it was, and what they've come up with is amazing. But then they put it in a Force Org and shit themselves. Basically.
What's in the fast attack race? I guess the Sentinels must be in there.
No. Oh yeah, maybe everything that isn't a I'm
just gonna have a look up now.
A human or a tank, basically. So all the animal stuff's in there. Those what are they called?
Okay, yeah. So a Thunderbolt, Sentinel. Beastmasters, that's what you're talking about, is it?
The Beastmasters, yeah.
Cavalry, although you can run the cavalry kind of provenance to increase that, but yeah.
Yeah, but cavalry, which is obviously another good one. Yeah, the cargo hauler, which is such a cool model. Like to see that in Heresy would be sick.
Yeah.
Why it is a fast attack choice when it's a transport, I have no idea.
You can you take it as a dedicated? You can't, can you? Or can you?
I don't. I think you can. Is there one of the provinces possibly?
Maybe, or maybe the Grenadiers can. Hang on a second.
No.
Just have a little look.
But then you've got the provinces that are really sort of interesting, where they can take rhinos and land raiders. But I'm like,
yeah, it's a weird one, militia, isn't it?
Yeah. I honestly feel that like I wrote that list. Do you know what I mean? Like someone with severe ADHD or something did, where they had so many good ideas, but they couldn't actually concentrate it all into one working platform.
Yeah, which is a shame, because as you said, didn't you, Will, in first edition, maybe that militia list, cults and militia list, was amazing. You could do all sorts with it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's it. Yeah, like you could see 4 different militia lists, and they were all completely different.
Yeah, and they were still viable on the board.
Yeah, every time I've seen militia brought to an event, they've been stomped pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe none of us are clever enough to work out the complexities and the nuance to them.
Heresy on hard mode is what it keeps getting described as. It's hard to argue against that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right then. I think we might leave it there, guys, because it's getting quite late. I'm sure Will's got to be up early, and you're doing a pod tomorrow night, aren't you?
I'm actually going to see. I was supposed to do a pod, and then I got an email this morning reminding me that I had tickets to see I'm Sorry, Haven't a Clue. So I'm taking my dad to see that instead, which will be nice.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll look forward to the pod next week.
Hopefully, I think I think it's come to the point now where if we don't do 2 in a week to catch up, we're never going to catch up. So
yeah, okay.
Hopefully we might. And Tom's got his computer fixed.
Great.
He's got his tower. So
because I'm looking forward to hearing in depth about your games at Bournemouth, because I had a quick chat with you, but it was a busy weekend, so I don't really know the ins and outs of your games. So I'm looking forward to hearing
it. And then I went to another event last weekend. So
oh god, yeah, the Orphan's Hope. So basically, Tom and Charles can just let you talk for an hour and a half, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah.
As it always is, so it's perfect.
Yeah, well, no one wants to hear what those guys have to say anyway.
They're just talking about fantasy and
that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, great. Thanks for coming on, Will. It's great to have you on board for a chat.
Thank you very much for having me. It's
looking forward to seeing you.
It's lovely to do stuff with you guys. It's brilliant. So.
Cool. Well, hopefully we'll do it again some point. Maybe we'll do an annual State of Heresy, and we can have a right old moan this time next year or something.
Good old wine.
Good old wine. Cool. Well, I mean, if you have anyone's watching has any comments, obviously put them down below. We'll do our best to answer all those. I'm sure you'll agree with some of the stuff we've said, and you probably won't agree with other stuff, and that's great. That's the beauty of it. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. We have YouTube membership now if you want to join the private Discord and have a moan in there. We're also going to be starting to put out videos which are members-only content as well, so jump on board with that. And yeah, thanks for your time. See you later.
Cheers.